All right, it's day 2 of piecewise functions. How to find the domain in the range. Okay, we're going to use interval notation to state the domain and range for each of these functions. Now, it's a little deceiving because it says functions, and not all of these are functions. I understand that I just wanted to make a variety of graphs, okay, so that you could name the domain and the range. Remember, the domain are the x values, and the range are the y's. Okay? So what x values or what y values are used to create these pictures? That's what we're trying to figure out. Now we should have a little bit of an idea because we did this in the last chapter. The interval notation will be a little bit different. Okay? So if you want to know what x's are being used, we want to think about the x-axis. And so these are all numbered along here 1 unit at a time. So if you think about it, you're going to be moving your pencil up and down and deciding, is there any graph there? Well, the first time that there's any graph being used is at this point right here. And that point would be negative 1, 2, 3, 4. So the first point that's used on the x-axis is negative 4. So we will make a bracket negative 4. Brackets mean you want to include those, or they are closed circled dots. Okay? So then you just keep moving along, and you say, well, at negative 3, we have graph right here and right here, so it's actually used twice. That's okay. Negative 2 is used here and down here. Okay? Negative 1 is used. 0 is used. 1 is used. 2. These are all getting used twice. So the last one that's used is positive 4. So we would say that we go from negative 4 to positive 4, and then we stop. Now when you go to do the range, okay, your pencil's going to go the other way. So you're going to move left or right. So you can see down here, we don't have any graph. We don't get any graph until we get up to this point, which I believe is negative 4 again. And it's closed circle, so we make a bracket. And then we can see that we're hitting the graph a couple times. When we get up to here, 4 would be the last one. So it's okay if they're the same, but they won't always be the same. Okay? Now I'm going to do number 2, and then I'm going to let you look at the rest of them. All right. So I always do the domain first. So looking at your x-axis. All right, moving that pencil up and down, where's the first dot that you hit? Well, that's this one right here. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we start at negative 7. Okay, negative 6, negative 5, negative 4, negative 3, negative 2, negative 1. At 0, we go down here. But we have a point, so that's good. Here's 1, 2, 3. So we go to 3 and we stop. All right, now do the y-axis. So we're not using any of them. Not using any of them. First one that we use is negative 1. All right, we're using 0, we're using 1, we're using 2, we're using 3 out here. Not here, but all of these are also using 3. So you use 3 a lot. 4, 5, 6, 7. So we go all the way up to positive 7 and stop. So that's the way I figure out domain and range. Now let me help you with one of the harder ones at the bottom, and then I want you to try to do the rest of them. Okay, so these piecewise functions down here are a little bit more complicated. So we're going to look at number 7. The domain. So this is when we're going up and down. The first one that we hit is negative 7. Okay, negative 6, negative 5. Are we using negative 5? If we go down from there, is any graph being covered? No, and this is an open circle, so we're going to put negative 5 with a parenthesis on it. Okay? Now you'll notice you're also not using any of these decimals. We don't use a number again until we get to -4. So we're going to put a bracket, -4. So you might have several of these things if you jump around. All right, so it uses -3, -2, -1. Now that's closed. So when I go up here, I'm going to jump to this piece. This is being used. Notice all of these are used in between 0 and -1. So I don't want to stop like I did here and start over, because I'm really just continuing. I'm just continuing up here. So I'm using 0 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 all the way to 7. And it's closed, so it'll get a bracket. So you only stop your bracket or parenthesis if you have to jump over a section that's not used. All right, if you do the range, the first one that's being used is -7, -6, -5, -4, and then I'm going to have to jump up here. So I have to stop it with -4 with a bracket because it's closed. The next number that I start with is 2. Now that's not a dot, but that's filled in, so that's going to be a bracket, so it's -2. -1 gets used twice, 0, 1, 2 is getting used right here, but 3 is not getting used, and then I'm going to have to jump. So I need a 3 with a parenthesis. The next thing that's used is 4. Now, 4 is used a closed circle here and an open circle here. If you can find anything closed, then it gets a bracket. So that goes 4, and then it also stops at 4, so you have to use it like this, 4, 4. All right, so try that with these graphs. You can also go to your other notes page, and there's 4 of them on there that you could practice with. Remember, the answer key for this is in the junior folder. Another video is on Edline. It shows a little bit different way of doing this. When they give you these equations, how you can get your domain from looking at this, but that doesn't really help us get our range. So usually the questions are in the form of a picture and you're trying to read the picture.